I should begin this entry by saying how truly sorry I am to anyone who read Part 4. I really had no idea what was going to happen. The agents have assured me that every trace of the story has been removed from the internet, and that there's nothing to worry about. If you were unfortunate enough to read Part 4, I beg you, for your own sake, try to forget everything. If you experience nosebleeds, dizziness, migraines, hallucinations, go immediately to the emergency room. If you have a reoccurring dream of an island made of song, under no circumstances should you approach or attempt to open the blue door with the painting of the crow on it. If you did not read Part 4, there was no Part 4. It does not exist. Forget everything that you've heard. By now, you probably already knew that there's a shitty gas station at the edge of our small town, and that weird things have been happening there. The city council has personally asked me to stop talking about it, as there have been some astute readers that have not only tracked down the small town from the brief descriptions that I've given, but actually come to visit me at work. I've heard that one of them joined the mathematists, and as far as I know, the other two are still missing. Once again, sorry. I'm not working right now. This is the legitimate first break I've had since I've started writing my stories on the receipt paper all that time ago. Time moves funny here, flowing slow and fast all at once, like molasses out of a shotgun. It's a good thing I've been keeping a journal. I've got a few moments before my laptop dies, and I think now might be the perfect time to transpose those journal entries, before my battery dies or the blood loss gets me. Right now, it's a race to see which happens first. Before you worry any, I've already called Tom and he said he's on his way here to give me a ride to the hospital, after he picks up dinner for the Ledford orphans, John, Ben, and little sister. Tom and the other deputies have been checking on me and taking turns bringing them food in an attempt to make the whole thing less tragic. They've been living on their own since the accident that totally didn't happen, and anyone who says otherwise is a damn liar. There I go again, off on another tangent. I guess I'll get to it and type up the journal entries while I still can. 9 p.m. So much has happened here since that Halloween incident that we aren't allowed to talk about. I've been much busier than usual, dealing with the aftermath as well as the cult. The mathematists have been cleaning our inventory out on a daily basis, planning ahead for some kind of secret event that I can only hear about in hushed murmurs and whispers. Night is coming earlier. The weather is getting colder. 2 o'clock. The man in the trench coat is back. He's standing just outside the gas station door staring in. He's been there for almost an hour now. On the bright side, I haven't had a customer since he showed up. On the not-so-bright side, I can't help but feel like he's trying to put thoughts into my head. He won't be able to, though. I've had way too much practice. Kiefer came in earlier today, right before sundown. He sat in the booth drinking coffee for a while. Eventually, Spencer Middleton showed up. Spencer had a word with Kiefer, then came storming up to the register, screaming at the top of his lungs. He grabbed the display of lotto scratch-offs and threw it across the room. It was obvious that something had upset him. That's when I took the earplugs out. "Everything all right?" I asked stupidly. I knew damn well that everything was never all right. "Did you hear a word I just said?" Spencer asked. I had explained to him that I had taken to wearing earplugs in an effort to drown out the sounds of screaming that periodically radiated through the air vents. I guess the screams must have stopped a while ago. Or maybe I just imagined them. Either way, I didn't need the earplugs anymore. At this point, Tom walked in the store, his hair white, looking even whiter than normal. Spencer, I could see, became instantly aware of the deputy's presence. "Where is he?" He half whispered, half growled. "Where is the other one?" "Carlos?" Spencer sighed. "Sure, Carlos. He's not due here for another 20 minutes. When he gets here, tell him I need to have a chat." With that, Spencer Middleton let out a shrill whistle and left the store. Kiefer jumped out of his seat and followed closely behind him. Tom helped me pick up the mess and put the lotto display back together without asking a single question. I wish more people could be like Tom. When Carlos got back to work, he told me that he had been having strange dreams. Dreams of something enormous, living, breathing, underground. Dreams that always end the same way, with the gas station collapsing into a giant sinkhole. I told him that Spencer was looking for him. That's when Carlos grew solemn and asked me if he could show me something. In the freezer, stacked behind a box is labeled non-apria, whatever the hell that means. They've been here as long as I've worked here. There's a moving blanket, and inside the blanket is another Kiefer. My question for Carlos was, "You stole the body back?" He looked at the ground and shook his head sheepishly like a toddler that got busted cooking meth. No, I killed another one, Carlos explained. It was an accident. Again. The man in the trench coat is finally gone. He left claw marks on the glass in the front door. I checked the security footage to confirm my suspicions. He stays just outside the range of the cameras. I can't remember what his face looked like either. Marlboro was the first customer in the store after the man in the trench coat left. I told him I was surprised that he was still alive, and he mistook the compliment and said thank you. I asked him if he was ready for the big event, then he just stared at me blankly. I could tell he had no idea I was talking about, so I told him that I put it all together. The unusual cultist activity, the whispers, the buying up all our supplies, I could tell something was going to happen. Marlboro went pale in the face as I was talking. He ran out of the gas station before I could finish, the 99-cent frozen drink still in his hand. I know I should write up an inventory loss slip for the theft, but I just can't bring myself to do it. As it is hard to explain, there's just something about Marlboro that makes me genuinely sorry for him. 6 a.m. I caught myself digging again. I don't know how long I was out there, or who was running the store while I was gone. The hole was so deep now I couldn't climb out of it on my own. I should maybe think about considering the possibility of asking a doctor if this is normal. 8 o'clock. Marlboro is currently crying in the storage closet. Through his sobs, I could barely make out the story. Marlboro was sent on some kind of vision quest for the last week and has no idea what the other cultists have been stocking up for. He went through the back of the compound earlier and found the place completely deserted. Beds were left unmade, some plates still had food on them. A fire still burning in the fireplace. Everyone's clothes were still in their personal milk crates next to their sleeping bags. But all of the people were simply gone. Marlboro isn't taking this very well, but I have a business to run. So I asked Carlos to carry me into the dry storage area. I figure he can work through some of the stuff in there, and maybe when he's all done, he'll just, I don't know, go home? 11/4/2017, 8 p.m. The exterminators just left. They said they got all the snakes this time, but I have my doubts. 11/5/2017, 5 p.m. Kiefer came into the store again today and made some thinly veiled threats. He asked about Carlos too, but I told him that I was tired of being the go-between and that if he had business with Carlos, he needed to take it up with Carlos. That's when Kiefer started getting weird. You know, this place is a big experiment, and you're just a little mouse. I asked Kiefer to buy something or leave, so he bought a pack of toothpaste and started to undress in the store and rub the toothpaste all over his naked body. They tell me something's wrong with your brain. Is that true? I tried to be polite and avert my eyes and answered, yeah. You have some kind of mental condition? I answered again, yeah. That's too bad. At this point, Kiefer was completely naked. He walked over to the frozen drink machine and filled a large cup with a red sugary concoction before turning it upside down on the top of his head. Then he shook himself violently like a wet dog, flinging bits of cold, sticky debris across everything from the ceiling to the walls. Some of it even landing on my face. But I tried not to let him see me flinch. I knew this was just all an attempt to intimidate me. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction. What is it exactly? He asked as he crossed back to where his pile of clothes waited for him. What? I asked. What's your condition? Schizophrenia? Protonopia? Meningitis? The gay? No, I don't sleep. You don't sleep? He sounded genuinely interested. Like, ever? I couldn't fall asleep. I haven't slept a single day since high school. It's a rare genetic condition with no cure and no treatment, and one day it will kill me. But until then, I handle the effects the best that I can. Kiefer nodded. That must be it. That must be why he can't reach you. What? Why who can't reach me? Right then, Spencer came into the store and threw a blanket around Kiefer and rushed him out into the waiting SUV. A moment later, he came back to the store and offered me $100 for the security tape from tonight. I wonder what I'll spend the $100 on. 4 a.m. It finally happened. I suppose it was only a matter of time, and I know I should feel regret or shame or any other emotion that normal people feel when something like this happens, but all I feel is embarrassed. I came to a couple of hours ago with a shovel in my hand, and I'd been digging again. This time, I had made some serious progress. The hole was at least 7 feet deep. The steep walls were made of loose red clay. It took me a while to realize that I had been staring into an inky black pepper night with uncountable stars. When some of the bigger celestials started to move, I noticed that those stars were actually just the soulless red eyes of the mutant raccoons staring down at me over the edge of the hole, probably looking for food. The shameless beggars. I chucked the shovel out of the hole, and that's when I heard it. Imagine the sound of a butcher's knife hitting a watermelon, like a wet, solid thwack. Now imagine the watermelon gurgling and falling over like a sack of potatoes. Oh man, this metaphor's really gotten away from me. When I climbed out of the hole, I saw the shovel standing upright, the business end firmly lodged inside of the open chest of a still twitching Kiefer. The Kiefer was dead before I even got to his side. In a final act of defiance, he turned up both of his middle fingers to me. I felt the slightest amount of respect for him before I went into a mental state that I can only describe as subdued panic. The first thing I wanted to do was find something to wrap the body up in because, surely, Spencer Middleton would come for it soon. When I finally got into the gas station, I was surprised to find that Marlboro had taken it upon himself to work the cash register while I was gone. He was ringing up one of the regulars, Charles, a great big fat man that always buys soap and boiled peanuts. I nabbed the tarp off the shelf and took it outside. That's when I learned something. Kiefer is heavy. Like, really heavy. I understand that a human body is just basically meaty, fleshy water balloons full of guts and excrement, but nothing could prepare me for how leaky and gross and heavy a dead man can be. It was only by some miracle that I managed to drag Kiefer through the back door into the freezer without being seen. It took all of my strength to pull the mass behind the boxes and stack it on with the other 3. When I finally finished, I had worked up a sweat, and even in the cold freezer wasn't enough to keep me cool. As I stood there, letting my breath come back and the adrenaline wear off, I took stock of the situation. Then it dawned on me. There were 4 Kiefers in that freezer with me. 4 Kiefers! Where the hell did the other 2 come from? The freezer door opened and Marlboro entered, dragging a dead Kiefer by the legs. He stopped and made eye contact with me. When he saw the Kiefers at my feet, I said the only thing I could think of. Well, this is awkward. Marlboro and I decided to open a bottle of Strega liqueur and have a few drinks. He explained that he had accidentally killed Kiefer a couple of times. I totally understood. The guy was just so easy to kill. At one point, Carlos came into the freezer to grab a box of cookie dough. He didn't even acknowledge all the Kiefers. Well, my laptop's at 2%. It's obvious that I won't have time to transcribe the rest of my journal before it dies. I don't have time to tell you how I ended up at the bottom of this hole underneath the store with the broken leg. But I can tell you that I hear something moving around above me. Which is good because I don't think I'm alone down here. If you're reading this, it means I managed to upload my story. If you're not reading this, then I don't know. What even are you? Someone just called my name from the top of the precipice. I think it was Carlos. I wonder what happened to Tom. Why didn't Tom ever show up? Come to think of it, I seem to remember Tom didn't survive the Halloween incident. Wait, who the hell have I been talking to this entire time? I promise that if I survive long enough to recharge my battery, I will come back and tell the rest. Until then, I guess this story is to be continued.